All right, man, peace. So, brothers, Antonio Brown, currently the superstar wide receiver with the Pittsburgh Steelers, has been all over the headlines recently. He's basically been the fall guy for why the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that is filled to the brim with superstar talent, has not measured up to expectations. They've had a very tempestuous atmosphere in their locker room, and many fingers have been pointed at Antonio Brown and other players for that matter, but predominantly at Antonio Brown. In the aftermath of that, he has demanded a trade from the team. He's named a couple of teams that he would like to go to, but particularly the San Francisco 49ers. He's tried to come together with prominent wide receivers like Terrell Owens and Jerry Rice, who formerly were wide receivers there, to gain a little bit of understanding on what the atmosphere there is like, what the city is like, what the franchise is like. But the reason why I'm making this video is not for a sports reason. It's for an arcane reason, an occultic reason. Because it's very obvious to me, particularly based on what I saw in this segment here, that Antonio Brown is a Luciferian. There's very little doubt in my mind about that. As many of you brothers who've been following my videos for any length of time know, I do like to delve into that aspect of the sports and entertainment world to provide some sobriety to brothers who watch these sports and entertainment events on television and take them too seriously. Never ever take these events too seriously. Anyone of high prominence that you see on television is a Luciferian. What does that mean? That means that they venerate the Father God, the Mother Goddess, and their son, the pagan deities of old. They believe that these entities provide them with a certain amount of power and energy that assist them in being extremely proficient in their field. They also believe that these entities open up avenues of success for them in other ways. That's why you'll see sometimes sports superstars go into acting or into music. Antonio Brown was recently on that dancing and singing competition on that new television show on Fox, where you have to wear the mask and the costume and then you reveal who you are at the end of your performance. I believe that is hosted by Nick Cannon, who himself is an MK asset and a Monarch child. I believe he sprung out of the Nickelodeon farm. But that's an issue that we'll handle in another video. Just getting back to Antonio Brown, as I've told you brothers, the conglomerate or the amalgamation of those three forces, the so-called triune on the left-hand side, the Father God, the Mother Goddess, and the Son, is represented in the quote-unquote goat god, the Baphomet. In the scriptures, that entity is known as Azazel. In other mythologies, he has different names. In Greece, he was known as Pan. In Kemet, he was known as Benebdejet. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Welcome back to TV Sports. Evan here with Van Lathan. What up? Michael J. Babcock.
What's up?
Antonio Brown had himself a busy weekend. Did you see he was working out with Kyler Murray over the weekend?
I did not see that.
He was throwing passes together. Kyler Murray was out there winging passes to Antonio Brown. It seems like they're getting along. It seems like it's another statement to the Steelers, like I'm ready to move on from Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, I mean...
Ben Roethlisberger, another big-time Luciferian. A serial rapist, allegedly, who has never been taken to task for what he's done, never been truly punished for what he's done. But the NFL even knows that he was culpable for what he was accused of because they suspended him for so long a time. But this dude was out here raping women, and they let him get away with it. But the Steelers were founded on mafia money anyway, allegedly. Of course, everything I'm saying is alleged.
I mean, listen, Kyler Murray's going to be a big deal. I wonder what he gets out of the whole thing, but yeah.
It's interesting. But besides the working out with that guy, he also spent a little bit of money this weekend. Spent $500,000, $500,000 on brand new jewelry. He went over to his buddy Gabriel the jeweler, who's a huge celebrity jeweler. There's a lot of work for a lot of big stars, and he bought a bunch of stuff.
Now, brothers, look at this jewelry for a moment. This dude, Antonio Brown, had two quote-unquote highly valued gold rings crafted for him. One looked like it was made in gold. The other one maybe silver with diamonds encrusted. Either way, it's very clear that even though he'll try to state to the masses or to the uninitiated that it's in representation of himself believing that he's the quote-unquote greatest of all time, we know that in reality it's because he venerates the GOAT God. And all prominent athletes in the sports world venerate the GOAT God. All of them. And I'm talking about at the highest levels. Because that's how they attain the opportunities to become successful in other fields. They cannot do that unless they venerate the quote-unquote Baphomet, that being Pan, Bacchus, and the Mother Goddess.
$190,000 watch.
Oh, Richard Mille, yeah.
He got 2 more goat rings. You see those rings he's got with the goat head on them?
Let's pay very close attention, because the brother in the middle, Van Lathan, even he is going to note, and he himself is a Luciferian, I believe, and I'll delve into that later on in this video. But even he exposes what he believes to be Antonio Brown's true affiliations and the real reason why he's rocking these 2 quote-unquote goat rings.
Did you ever wear it?
Oh, because I was so embarrassed by it. I was like, if anybody actually knows what this is, they're going to know it's
By the
fake.
way, these goat rings kind of scare me a little bit.
Yeah, he got the goat rings because it's for greatest of all time. He thinks
Allegedly.
he's the best receiver ever, and he wants to make a statement.
Does he really believe that? He had some type of interaction with Jerry Rice over social media, and he called Jerry Rice the GOAT, or at least he used a GOAT emoji for Jerry Rice. So why would he therefore go and buy 2 GOAT rings for himself if he believes that it is he himself that is the greatest of all time and not Jerry Rice? I have a hard time believing that he has 2 GOAT rings just to try to state his claim that he's the best wide receiver ever. It's very obvious to me what he's actually about.
Statement.
But it looks like the satanic pagans or something like that.
Wow. Did you hear what Van Lathan stated? Let me rewind this back a little bit.
It's like,
Let me rewind this back a little bit.
Respect.
did you ever wear it?
Oh, because I was so embarrassed by it. I was like, if anybody actually knows what this is, they're going to know it's
By
fake.
the way, these goat rings kind of scare me a little bit.
Yeah, he got the goat rings because it's for greatest of all time. He thinks he's the best receiver ever, and he wants to make a statement.
But it looks like the satanic pagans or something like that.
Van Lathan stated that it looks like satanic pagans or something like that. Hey, Van Lathan, let me find out you're on my channel, man. If you're on my channel, bro, repent from all that Luciferian shit that you yourself are doing.
Like the satanic pagans or something like that.
Or at least allegedly doing.
It's like, doesn't it look like some kind of pagan ritual?
Look at that shit. Brothers, do you really believe that he's wearing 2 gold rings like that because he thinks that he's the best wide receiver ever? That's why oftentimes you'll hear stories about these prominent athletes from their consorts, their quote-unquote significant others, and they'll tell you that the person that you see on TV is not who they really are. They're a totally different person off camera. They're extremely belligerent. They're quick to anger, irascible, overly confrontational, almost borderline multiple personality disorder issues or dissociative identity disorder issues. Many of these top level entertainers have, whether they be singers, actors, or athletes. Because once you allow that spirit, that demon, to enter into your body so that the demon can use you to glorify itself, you can never get rid of it. For those of you who don't understand the Babylonian Kemetic Mystery School system, the quote-unquote goat god is meant to represent the spirit of Asar. He's the Ba of Asar. That is who Benebdejet was, according to the teachings of ancient Kemet, aka the goat of Mendes. He was amalgamated into the god Ptah, who is Cush in real history, and he became known as Ptah Min, the god of lust. That's why Ptah Min, or Min, is always represented by the erect phallus. And of course, the Greeks, they took on that same quote-unquote fake deity or pagan deity as the god Pan. And we know him all the way down to today as the Pied Piper. That is why R. Kelly took on that moniker of the Pied Piper. Not only is he able to allure the children or the masses with his music, but he does it so that he can reel them in for his own lusts. So that's what it all goes back to in regards to the goat entity. The goat is always known for its lustfulness. And I've touched on this in other videos. The mascot of America, Uncle Sam, is meant to harken back to the goat god. That is why he has the goatee. And he always says, "I want you." And he points to you. He's used to bring in the new recruits for the armed forces. Because when you join the armed forces, you're really joining it so that you can serve that entity, Samael or Uncle Sam. Samael was the patron angel of the Roman Empire. America is just the modern incarnation of the Roman Empire. So that's why anybody here who's a patriot, you're really a patriot under the energy of the goat god. And that's why in order to cross into America, you pass through the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty is the mother goddess, aka Columbia, or the goddess of the dove, also known as Juno, or Sybil, or Rhea.
Dude, like, well, look at that, bro.
That's amazing.
Bro, that's scary to me, me, bro. It's like something Count Dracula would have on his arm.
Absolutely. Van Lathan, you're starting to understand it. But I expect you to understand it because you're the so-called black man there. Our people are not supposed to have the spirit to venerate these pagan entities, this nonsense here.
Oh, his hand or something like that.
Well, I mean, more stuff. You got 5-carat diamond earrings, and then you got a $220,000 diamond chain.
What about this chain? Look at that. Look at those diamonds.
You know what? Let me rewind it back to the part that's pertinent.
They're gonna know it's
By the
fake.
way, these goat rings kind of scare me a little bit.
Yeah, he got the gold rings because it's for greatest of all time. He thinks he's the best receiver ever. And
Nonsense. He got the gold rings to show the people in the know, the powers that be, that he's down with the program and he's willing to do whatever to attain to a higher level of fame. That's why he did that. Somewhere along the line in his career in the NFL, somebody took him aside and said, if you want to understand how to break through different barriers, not only in your career but in your life, follow me. That's normally how it's done. The so-called Masons are just Luciferians. As they ascend up the higher levels, it's revealed that their god is the goat god. And many of these other so-called pagan or new age systems, they're told the same thing, that their supreme deity is the goat god.
he wants to make a statement.
But it looks like satanic pagans or something like that.
does.
Like, doesn't it look like some kind of pagan ritual dude? Like, look at that, bro.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. Before it slips my mind, another name for the Kemetic goat god was Khnum, K-H-N-U-M. Okay? And you brothers should look that up so that you get an understanding of why these people do what they do today. The Babylonian mystery school system always returns under a different guise.
Bro, that's scary to me, bro. It's like something Count Dracula would have on his hand or something like that.
Well, I mean, more stuff. You got 5-carat diamond earrings, and then you got a $220,000 diamond chain.
What about this chain? Look at that. Look at those diamonds.
That's amazing looking.
That is a great.
Looks like costume jewelry. It's so big.
It does.
It probably is costume jewelry. Motherfucker be spending $1.5 million on a Halloween chain.
Man, real. Man, good for him.
I'd be scared to wear something like that out.
I gotta be honest with you. I don't think he has any kind of trepidation about not getting another NFL job.
No, it's true.
He be working that chain off.
He's gonna be a 49er. Remember, he told Jerry Rice.
And Jerry Rice would know because Jerry Rice is a Luciferian himself. Remember, he was in the Kobe Bryant commercial for the Kobe system. Every person that you saw in that Kobe Bryant commercial for the Kobe system, Serena Williams, Kanye West, Aziz Ansari, Jerry Rice, and there were a few others as well. Everybody in that commercial, or Tony Robbins, they were there because they were brothers of Kobe Bryant and Luciferianism, or Illumination.
Rice wants to play for the 49ers. We'll see how that goes. And they obviously have to pay him so they can cover his jewelry habits.
Exactly.
But anyway, that's basically it on that, brothers. Just make sure that you stay astute and aware of what's going on around you, because these prominent people in this society, they've already made their allegiances known. So peace. Okay, so now, brothers, this is going to be a very brief epilogue pertaining to the video that you've just watched on Antonio Brown being a pupil of the Baphomet. That is the reason why he decided to purchase those 2 gold rings. That is what that is meant to convey to his fans and the masses at large. Right now, what Antonio Brown is doing is letting out his quote-unquote dark aspect, or his dark side. The Luciferians are taught that there's a light side that they convey to the masses, and there's a dark side that they should keep hidden, and every once in a while they can show it just to show the various aspects of who they are as a witch. Once again, they believe that there's a dark aspect and a light aspect. They also believe in what's known as a blue witch and a red witch. The blue witch being the quote-unquote good witch, the red witch being the bad witch. It's a concept known as fire and ice, with the color blue representing ice, the color red representing fire. Why am I bringing all this up? Because we see here Antonio Brown's former superstar running back teammate Le'Veon Bell, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, currently with the New York Jets. And we see here he's throwing up the quote-unquote hang 10 hand sign, which is really the horn sign for Baal, or the goat, Pan. He might not even quite be aware of it because, once again, many of these athletes and many people who attend colleges just in general, they join these fraternities and these sororities, and they're not quite aware of what they're being introduced to, what they're initiating when they enter into those lodges or those frats or what have you. What they're learning is a low-level understanding of the Babylonian Kemetic mystery school system. And as they ascend up the levels, eventually they'll join a Masonic lodge and maybe other forms of occultic understanding or worship or practice, where they gain a greater insight into the hand signs and the power and magic that they can utilize during their careers or even after their careers for their own personal gain. So here, once again, we see Le'Veon Bell, and he's wearing a Morgan Freeman t-shirt. Why is that? It's because Le'Veon was helping Morgan Freeman and Peter Dinklage promote the Fire and Ice campaign, which is a commercial that I'll be covering in the series that I'll be doing on Saturnian worship. Once again, Le'Veon Bell is a Saturnian. He might be so low level that he's not quite sure what he's into or what system of worship that he's a part of, but he is a Saturnian. Also keep in mind that Le'Veon Bell was a student at Michigan State, which we know is always caught up in some type of satanic ritual abuse, which is normally associated with the MK Ultra program. And in my view, that is an MK Ultra hub. We know that Steve Kerr's brother works there. We know that Draymond Green, Magic Johnson came from there, Jamel Hill, many of the more prominent sports journalists who have been implemented into the ESPN and Fox Sports 1 sports coverage circuit came from Michigan State. We also know that there was a controversy concerning the physician associated with the U.S. Olympic gymnast team. I believe his name is Nasser. So could Le'Veon Bell be a Monarch athlete out of the Michigan State MK Ultra program? Who knows? Who knows? I'm not going to put that all the way out there, but just the fact that he's a very prominent athlete / personage from that institution makes him someone to watch. And once again, he's being utilized to help advertise the Fire and Ice campaign that was initiated by or utilized by Morgan Freeman and Peter Dinklage. It was a commercial that also starred Missy Misdemeanor Elliott, a top witch in the entertainment industry, as well as Busta Rhymes, a top wizard in the entertainment industry, to push and promote certain Saturnian ideologies. You'll see that theme of fire and ice used to promote the worship of Saturn. Another term for Saturn is the goat god, or Capricorn, because that is the astrological sign associated with Saturn. Now here's a photo, a very revelatory photo in my view, of one of the television anchors that is on the show TMZ Sports. His name is Van Lathan. And in the segment on Antonio Brown, he went out of his way to correctly analyze the goat emblems that were on the rings that Antonio Brown purchased. And he made the correlation between those rings and some type of satanic practice. I stated in the video that he himself has shown me in the past, and when I say he himself, I'm talking about Van Lathan, has shown that he has some knowledge of Luciferianism himself. Why do I say that? Because of pictures like this and other photos that Van Lathan has publicized about himself, with him making the Manu Cornuto hand sign for the goat god. So sometimes when things are too blatant, they'll have strategically placed media members say things ahead of time and try to cut people off at the pass. Viewers who might be astute and knowledgeable of what they're watching, they'll have strategically placed media members act as if they're going to call out certain celebrities for being Luciferians or Satanists, so that so that people can say to themselves, oh, okay, so it's not just me who's seeing this, other people are seeing it. And on top of that, there's a structure where that person is going to be shunned. No, Van Lathan is in the know. And the reason why I say that is because I did a 4-part feature on Kanye West when he had one of his quote-unquote meltdowns at the TMZ Sports studios, where Van Lathan was yelling at him across the room, and Van went out of his way to wave the Manu Cornuto hand sign at Kanye West. Please keep in mind that the Manu Cornuto is used to trigger monarch slaves or MK assets. So could Van Lathan be a handler himself? It's highly possible, especially for him to gain such a prominent position at TMZ, aka Tammuz Network, under Harvey Levin, who is without a doubt a high-level Kabbalist. He has to be. For him to be allowed to follow around and harass these celebrities like he is, and to have the celebrities oftentimes be so receptive to TMZ. Harvey Levin has to be someone with connections, and the only way that you get connections in Hollywood is to be a high-level Kabbalist. As we look at this photo here, we see Van Lathan with the black t-shirt for Saturn. And the quote-unquote Infinity Gauntlet is making the quote-unquote Hang Ten hand sign, aka the horn hand sign. The Infinity Gauntlet, as we all know, is won by the god of death, Thanos, who comes from where? A moon adjacent to the planet Saturn. So that is the message that Van Lathan is trying to communicate. Also, when you see them make that face, the snarl where they bite their bottom lip, that's also meant to represent the anger or the rage of the god Saturn. We saw it also with Le'Veon Bell. Let me turn it back for a moment. We see Le'Veon Bell making that same face. So that is part of that pose. Here we see Van Lathan again. So he's in the know. Watch for him to become more and more prominent as he stays with TMZ. And hey, here's Van Lathan making that same pose with his hand underneath his chin that we analyze in the LeBron James, LA Bron heading to Hollywood Part 2 aftermath or epilogue portion. I told you guys, all these dudes are Luciferians, aka Masons. All of them. If you see them on TV, you know how they got there, especially if they're allowed to speak and gain prominence in front of the camera. That is what Van Lathan is as well. So as we can see, he has his fist underneath his chin, which is meant to convey that he's a possessor of the secrets of the mystery school system at whatever level that he's at. And he will give his life before he divulges those secrets. We finally get to AB. He's letting you know how he secured the bag. How did he get his money? He got his money by showing his obeisance to the Baphomet, aka the goat god Pan. We see he has a briefcase full of money. The money is spilling out. On the briefcase it says secure the bag. He's making sure that he shows off his 2 Baphomet rings. So Antonio Brown is going to continue to act quote unquote crazy and say whatever is on his mind because now he's with the Oakland Raiders. He's starting a dark portion in his career. It would not surprise me at all if his exit from Pittsburgh is part of a ritual to have him go through or put himself through some type of turmoil so that he can reveal his quote-unquote dark aspect. Very similar to how LeBron James left the Cleveland Cavaliers the first time, went down to Miami and played the quote-unquote bad guy role. So that is AB. He is a venerator of the Baphomet in my view, and I think that you're going to see him reveal more and more of that quote-unquote red witch or quote-unquote dark side or black magic aspect as we go along. So peace.